What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dylan Talks Tone. I got something really crazy, really special. I've seen these things on the internet for years and kind of been watching the product development of the Tonewinder Ultimate CNC Winder. They reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and sent me one from Spain. And super cool, super cool dudes. So I thought what we would do is I want to give you not only a review of this thing, but an actual demo of it. I haven't found any real good videos on this thing on the internet, and it is really a powerful tool. It does a lot of neat stuff. Today we're just going to talk about the basic features of it. I want to make a separate video that dives into a lot of the, well, let's just say, I think I can clone myself with this. So we're going to talk about that in a future video coming up. Maybe next week I'll show you that. But let's just do a quick overview of this thing, and then we're going to dive in. And we're actually going to wind a pickup with it. I'm going to show you some pretty cool features that I've never seen on any pickup winder before. So to secure a bobbin to the winder, on the single coil side, you screw this pin into the center, and then the bobbin goes on it like this. And then your top cap goes on like this. And then you got to make sure that the eyelets fit into this, see this little indentation on the bottom? When we start talking about how we set up the winder, we really need to make sure that the bobbin is really flat against this, okay? And then you just put this nut on and it holds it on. Now for the humbucker or P90 side, this comes out. We'll grab a P90 bobbin, and you'll see there's marks all around the outside. 52, and bring this around to the 50 side, so 50 millimeter from here to here. So then you'll take this and you'll thread this in. And side note, the knurling on this fits perfectly in the screw side or the slug side of a bobbin humbucker. So they've really thought this out, so it fits nice in there. It doesn't scratch the top of the bobbin, like that sort of stuff. It's super cool. So now you have that fixed to the top of, or fixed to the machine. Another key piece of this machine is the tensioning block. So this tensioning block here is pretty interesting. We've got idler pulleys that we'll explain once we start putting the wire on the machine. This little white dude right here is the final guide before the wire goes on to here. The reason it's super important to have the bobbin flat against this is because this is the reference point. And so the machine knows where this white, the center of this white is. And so that is that's like the most important thing, to make sure that the bobbin is flat against here and that this dude knows where everything is. Now the other thing that's really cool is this guy right here. See this knurled knob? There's felt in between here, and this is the tension sensor. It knows, I think, down to 1 gram tension changes, and if it goes out of spec, it will stop the machine almost immediately. So if the wire breaks, if you have something routed incorrectly, if there's too much slack in the wire, that sort of stuff is super cool. And it's really fast. And then over here, we have, this is the little wire retainer. So the wire comes off the roll through here, and then up to this thing. We'll route it around there, and I'll show you specifically in a little bit. But this guy is what keeps it at tension coming off the roll. All right, so once it goes through its like boot up phase, then we'll go ahead and hit the start button. Let's see, we've got new bobbin, load bobbin, repeat bobbin, pickup calculator. That's actually kind of cool. You can adjust and measure all of your core ends, core height, all that kind of stuff, depending on if you change diameters and stuff, and it helps you to spec out and calculate pickups from scratch. And most of my stuff's done other ways, but I think that's pretty neat, especially if you're new to this whole thing. When we set up a new bobbin, we've got a few things here. Table mode, scatter mode, emulate mode. We're going to get into those in a different video because I want to show you how to actually clone yourself, because you can do that and still make hand wound pickups on this thing, which is really cool. Today we're going to just talk about the constant mode. So let's get in here real quick and I'll show you kind of how this whole thing works. We've got turns, so we can go ahead and type in however many turns we want. We can select counterclockwise or clockwise, the wire gauge, the height of the coil, the base thickness, and the winding speed, and the filling factor. The filling factor is interesting. Basically, how much of the bobbin and at what speed you want to fill it from side to side, if that makes sense. You can predetermine turns per layer if you want. The two things that are really important here, though, that are going to make or break your day are going to be the height of the coil and the base thickness. Okay, so when we're setting up a bobbin, there's two things we need to know. We need to know the thickness of the base plate, and we need to know the height of the coil. Now, I haven't figured out how to change the measuring unit in this machine, so we're dealing with metric here. And it was micrometers, I believe. Again, I'm not super familiar with metric stuff, but that's what we're going to do. So here is how this works. You need a good set of calipers. Okay, so we're going to measure, we're going to reset this to 0, and then we're going to take, let's really get this like as set to 0 as possible, and then we're going to take and measure our base plate thickness. So 1.67 millimeters. So now to get that to micrometers, then we need to multiply that by 10. So that's going to be 1670. Okay, and then we're going to measure our coil height, and you want to get this as clearly as possible. 1337, 1338. You really want to get the biggest number. You know, sometimes this will vary by a thousandth or two or a thousandth of a millimeter. So 1340. I'm going to make this a little bit narrower than that, so I'm going to go 1330. And the reason for that will become apparent. So 1330 is going to be the height of our coil. This is really, really key because basically when we're, when we're winding a coil, basically the thickness of the base plate off of that spindle, then the wire's coming on here. You don't want it to snag on the there, but you also don't want to have a huge gap here either. But that plate determines it, then the thickness of the base plate. So then you have the height of the coil, right? And then you have your top plate. Well, if this is too thick, it'll start pushing up on the top plate and it'll taco your top plate. But you also don't want to have a huge gap in here where the bobbin doesn't fill up. So this is a super key measurement, and it's very, very precise. This machine is super precise with this. So be as intentional as you can about measuring this stuff. All right, let's go ahead and get a bobbin on the machine. Before we do that, actually, I want to talk about one other thing that will help you that does not come with this kit that I think you need. This is a whisker disc. It's got a brass plate on the bottom, or a brass pin on the bottom. It sits on top of a 5-inch roll. You can get them for a bunch of different sizes. But what this does is as the wire comes up off of the spool, it actually, see how it'll, let me see if I can make it do it. See how it spins around? But what it is those little hairs on the sides keep even tension on the wire. They don't talk about this with this pickup winder, but pickup winders in general, this is really nice to keep your tension even. It's kind of one of the new little hack secrets that I have found lately that have really helped me out. I mean, shoot, I've done 10,000 pickups and I just figured this out recently and I really, really, really like it. So it's something that I would recommend. This company is called Azonic. I have no affiliation with them, no referral link, no nothing. This has nothing to do, you know, and if there's other brands out there, I don't know, but this is the one I have experience with and I absolutely love it. This setup right here is like 25 bucks and the replacements with the little plates and the brass thing and all that. And the little plates, the whisker discs themselves are like 5 bucks to replace because these will wear out over time. All right, so this might look a little complicated on this deal, but it's actually not. So the wire goes over this little white pulley, and that's to me that's the most important one. And then there's two little felt things behind this little tensioner, and you just need to make sure that the wire goes through there because that's what senses the tension. And then you go around the outside, and then up and over this one, and then it comes down over here, and you just lift this up, plop that down, and we are ready to wind. And then the roll sits there on the ground, and the wire comes off of there. All right, so now that we're all ready, let's go ahead and get this little dude programmed, shall we? So let's do new bobbin, constant mode. Let's do, how many turns you want to do? Does it matter? Doesn't matter. We're just goofing around. Let's do 7,500, shall we? Counterclockwise is how I have it set up. Wire gauge, 42. Okay, height of the coil, this is where this is key. So we had, height of the coil was 1330, so that means it's 13,300. Like so. And then the base thickness was 1.67, so we're going to make this 1670. And we're going to hit OK. We're going to do winding speed. Let's do 1,000. OK. Filling factor, we're going to do 100. We'll explain that in the next video, how we use that. Okay, I'm going to hit pre-start, and when I hit pre-start, it's going to pre-tension everything to make sure that the wire is all routed. Like, it won't start anything if the wire's not routed correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the button, but I want you to watch this side. And it's going to locate the traverse, it's going to reference everything, it's going to make sure the tension is good, it's going to like pre-roll a little bit. But I want you to know what it's doing, but I'm going to press the button and you'll be able to watch it. Didn't give me any warnings or anything, so now we're going to go ahead and hit the button. We're going to hit the start button, and here we go. And we're winding. And you can watch the traverse go back and forth. We'll just kind of watch it do its thing for a second. Since this is a new setting, we'll let it do its thing and then we'll stop it and see how we did with the setup. Alright, we're going to go ahead and stop and hold. And look. Yeah, that looks nice. Excellent. Looks very good. Alright, well let's go ahead and just let this thing do its thing, shall we? And then over here, we can watch it doing its thing. It tells us how many layers, how much time is left, how many grams of tension, the target turns, the actual turns, actual layers, all that stuff. Super cool. So this will keep a status on everything as it's running the entire time. So we'll let this do its thing and we'll be back in 6.3 minutes. You know what? The end result doesn't really matter. I'll tell you what. I'm going to demonstrate something. I'm going to go ahead and put my thumb on the wire. And I'm going to show you what happens when tension messes up. Immediately stops, gives you a motion, a warning. And then if you hit continue, oh, still got too much slack. So now you see the wire is, oh, it broke. So there you go. The wire's broken and it's not going to let it continue. Pretty cool, right? All right. So that is the full boat automatic version that does everything CNC wise. Now they actually have two winders. They sent me both of them. We're going to do a separate video on this one. This is more conventional, very much more similar to my Mojo Tonewinder back there. I have 3 of those Mojo Tonewinders. And what I thought I would do is, this is the more simplified version and it costs a lot less than this one. I'll leave a link to Tonewinder in the description. You can use code DTT when you go to tonewinder.com. I'll leave a link to it. Use code DTT. That'll be awesome. And this is a manual one. So you see it doesn't have the cool stuff on it. Now what I've been told is that you can order this one, and if you want to upgrade to this one, you can order the stuff and upgrade it. So that's pretty cool. So what I was thinking we'd do is maybe in the next video, or in a video coming up anyway, we will do a comparison between the Mojo Tonewinder back there that I'm very familiar with because I've wound thousands of pickups on it, and hand wind a pickup on this winder, and let's just see how they do and what the differences are and that sort of stuff. These two are fairly competitively priced. That one is more, obviously, because it's got more stuff and does cool things. But we'll get into both of them in a future video. It's crazy. It's so cool. You know, I hand wind pickups here. That's what I do. But I can definitely see the value in this piece of equipment. I have been using it. I do like it. There are things that you can do to make it to where the pickup is still more or less hand wound, which I really dig. Well, I'll make a video and I'll show you how that's done. It's crazy. It's crazy what it can do. And like I said, we'll do some comparisons with the manual one, with the Mojo Tone one too. I want to do that video as well. So we'll have a few different videos coming out about this machine over the next few weeks, probably spaced out a little bit with some other content and etc. And I think you're going to see it in some of our other content too, because it is a very useful tool. And I can totally understand it. Like I said, you can go to Tonewinder website. I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can use code DTT when purchasing from there. These are not cheap pieces of equipment, but they are very next level, and I cannot see a reason to not buy one. I've not seen anything that has told me, you know, it's an overpriced piece of crap, or it's, you know, it doesn't live up to what they said. Everything they've said it'll do, it'll do. And so to me, that's what makes it matter, right? That's what matters, is if they say, hey, it does this thing, it does the thing, then it may not be worth the money to you because maybe you're just a hobbyist who doesn't want to invest that much money into this. But if it's something that you're serious about, this is a very serious tool. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.